At the end of December 2024, Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy XVI joined Tekken 8 as the last DLC character for Season 1. And he's one of the most divisive additions we've had in the Tekken series. There are people who were against him the moment his face was revealed, before any gameplay was shown. And then there are players who are so adamantly pro-Clive that they'll defend even his most anti-Tekken aspects. And as both a Final Fantasy fan and a Tekken fan, I want to provide, hopefully, a level-headed take. And I want to do it in 3 parts. So the first part is I want to show you a pro-level Korean match that kind of highlights what I think is the peak performance of Clive. I say it that way because I don't want to bias your opinions as you watch it. Of course, I'll be giving commentary, but I want you to see the match and try and draw your own conclusions. Then, I want to highlight some defensive situations in-game and kind of show what are the proposed or expected counterplay options against Clive. In Tekken, every character has a weakness, so we want to go through those. And then in the third part, I want to highlight a Twitter thread that I thought was actually a really good summary of a lot of high-level players' thoughts on Clive and my thoughts on Clive. So, let's get into the video. We're going to start with the tournament match. This is the Soup Tekken League, a Korean side league is probably a good way to put it, but it's not any less competitive necessarily. It's still the best players in Korea, just fighting outside of the Tekken World Tour. We're looking at the winner's final, Ulsan versus Mulgold. And if you haven't heard of this match yet, what basically happens is Ulsan starts by picking his main, and then when backed into a corner, switches to Clive. And this match becomes a Clive mirror. And again, it highlights kind of the peak performance, we'll keep saying it that way, of Clive. I have notes below on what the players are doing specifically if that interests you, but let's get right into the match. It's a 1-3 in the winner's final, so we're going to be in here for a minute. So first game is going to be on the beach. Ulsan on the left with Dragunov, Mulgold on the right with the Clive. Forward 1+2 into 1+2. Those two Clive moves are the character right now. Forward 1+2 is a move that is a safe mid. It heat engages. It will launch if you hit them while you're in heat and do a heat dash. And it tracks both side steps. And obviously, as you can see, it goes really far as well. Even if you hit them airborne, the heat dash will convert into a launcher. This leads to this gigantic combo from Mulgold. Beautiful wall carry. And that combo killed him off of a forward 1+2 float. Float combos usually doing less damage than one would expect. The other key move is that one, where his Phoenix Wings spawn behind him and he hits 1+2. That is, colloquially, Tekken players call that a Demon Breath from the Mishima moves, but Clive's is safe. So if you block it, you don't get any guaranteed punish on him. You just have to hold it. And Mulgold, who has swapped sides here, is super good at using both of these moves. He just puts them out on very unpredictable timings, so you can't just interrupt him or just block and then take your turn after. And he's willing to put out these moves even when he's at a disadvantage. So it becomes really hard to tell when you can actually hit him. And when you do finally have a chance to hit him, that was a beautiful interrupt by Ulsan. The first slash whiffed, and then he counter hit the second one. And then finishing with the mid after the heat smash. If you actually do get a read on Mulgold's like timing, you block at the right time and try to interact, he also has a parry. So Clive can do his safe move and parry to try to take his turn back. So it becomes really hard to find any windows to attack. Ulsan's trying to sidestep and keeps getting clipped here. And that is the strength of Clive. In a very movement-heavy Tekken 8 really rewarding high-level, like, close-range sidesteps and good awareness of what both characters can do, Clive shuts that down. He has the forward 1+2, he has the 1+2. Wow, that combo killed. And he is able to just shut down so much Tekken movement with the forward 1+2, what we just saw again. And that control he's afforded allows him to just kind of move around and just put out those moves. There's not a lot of mixing up happening of like mid-low. Of course, Clive does poke low now and then. There's the parry, right, after doing the move that's safe on block. He does a couple lows here, but he's just looking to bait Ulsan into attacking the wrong time into that forward 1+2. Alright, he's blocking, he's chilling. Here comes a heat burst. Back 4-3 clips him. Now Ulsan's on the offensive. Nice sidestep around the wall rising 4. Okay. Mulgold poking back, and the raw 1+2. Again, one of the key moves with the heat dash, it does tons of damage. Nice duck under the back 4-3. Great defensive play from Mulgold, and he ends up taking game 1. So that last interaction isn't really a Clive thing. That is a Tekken thing. He ducked the high string. That was good. Game 2. They're on the red arena. This stage is super high variance because 4 of the walls explode, in case you don't know. So This means that what would normally be an innocent wall splat or a heat smash that doesn't necessarily do a combo can turn into a full combo and increase the damage that you can earn by a lot. Generic 2-throw not broken. There, Mulgold tried to parry, but Ulsan went low. The parry only works on highs and mids. Ulsan poking up Mulgold, not letting him get started, but a 1+2 between his offense. At 13 frames fast, he's able to sneak that in, even in situations where you normally wouldn't want to press. Another parry, and that does a chunk of permanent damage. There's the heat smash, and like I was saying, this can blow up the wall and turn into a combo. This would not have killed if not for the stage hazard. Tekken 8's natural variance with these hazard stages playing heavily in Mulgold's favor there. I think the stage hazards are kind of a problem, I'm not gonna lie. But that's more for the future discussion here. Okay, 1+2, and then 1+2 again. Running 2, if you block that sword stab, he gets a free stance mix-up. There's not a lot you can do but guess mid or low. You can sidestep the sword stab the running 2, but again, forward 1+2 is de-incentivizing the sidesteps. He just threw it out twice. Now Ulsan's fighting for his turn back. Getting some pokes, healing a bit, eating a raw 1+2. Nice block there. That's important. If he was caught sidestepping, he would have died. Just like there, he died. I think he was caught backdashing and trying to cancel it. But even so, that's part of the thing about this move, is it shuts down your ability to play the game, as in to play sidesteps, backdashes. Obviously, backdashing alone is safe, but if you put a backdash cancel at the wrong time, the results are catastrophic. He gets clipped again. Sword stab is not sidestepped. Plus frames off of that string. Nice sidestep on the wall rising 4. And the orbital evaded Ulsan's mid. I repeat, it evaded his mid. He blows up the wall. Heat dash. This should kill. Back 2. 1 pixel. So many hits in the combo. Tons of scaling. Sidestep forward 1+2. Look at this evasion. This is insane to me. Right? He gets Ulsan to half HP. He starts attacking. He has a 2-round lead, so it makes sense to do some nonsense if you have a good read. Ulsan could go mid or low, and the fact that Orbital can beat this mid is insane to me. I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if that is just a consequence of Clive having a small hurt box as an imported Final Fantasy character. They talked about that in the dev talk. They had to make adjustments to his character model to meet Tekken standards. He's very thin. They had to thicken him. And it's hard to wonder if that didn't lead to interactions like that. But now is the pivotal point. At 2 games down, Ulsan switches to Clive himself. Now, what I want to emphasize, because we're talking about the future of Tekken 8, is this isn't, to me, a conversation about power level, even though the character is doing extremely well at a high-level tournament. This is a conversation about the design of the character and what kind of gameplay comes out of this. Okay, so keep that in mind as you watch. To me, it's not as important who's winning or dominating. Like, I come from Super Smash Bros. Melee, where you will see Fox and Falco over and over again at the top level, but it's fun because the gameplay is very dynamic. I don't think character strength alone leads to boring gameplay necessarily. Okay, sidestep down forward 2, and nice punish from Mulgold. You'll see that Ulsan plays his style of Clive a little differently. Yes, he's using the big moves, but he's looking for small sidesteps. He's poking kind of like his Dragunov. He's whiffing like he's PhiDX. And then he's looking for plays on the opponent retaliating. Mulgold is trying to attack your movement and get you to interact just enough with small pokes to make a mistake into his big hitboxes. Forward dash block, and then forward 1+2. Tons of 1+2s from Ulsan. Look at how many forward 1+2s and 1+2s are coming out. 2 slashes or the Phoenix, like, double fist, double palm right there. Look at this. It's like the same move over and over again. And because you can't sidestep, because both of them are mids, you can't duck, there's not a lot of defensive movement Tekken you can see. You just end up seeing the same moves over and over. Nice whiff punish, though. Forward 1+2 again, not greeting for the low. Down back 4, we see, oh, and then he runs into a 1+2. Ulsan taking the first round. Again, the gameplay is kind of one-dimensional. No punish there. Ulsan trying to get a sidestep 2-1 and gets punished with a down forward 2. Forward 1+2, blowing up the wall, taking away a hazard from his opponent. Huge wall carry. And then goes for the Zentetsuken Ender to build some meter. That sidestep low is mid is +2. Down by 4. Down by 4 again. You better duck this. Nice block by Ulsan. He goes into stance instead of taking the full punish. Heat smash. Mulgold has frames. Back dashes. Does not break the throw. Now Ulsan on the right. he found the Phoenix heat string. Phoenix 2/1+2 and a plus frame string that is only parryable by a few specific characters. Jin, Leroy, Clive, any character with a strong parry. This time Ulsan takes the punish and he goes for the sweep out of the Phoenix stance. Ulsan is way more liberal. Nice power crush. Ulsan is more liberal with his stance mix-ups. Whereas Mulgold prefers to clip you in neutral over and over. Ulsan is making plays with the stance, he's making plays with the power crush, and he's going for sidestep plays as well. Even though Clive de-incentivizes a lot of these things, in the Clive mirror, you are afforded the ability to do more of these. Because you can counter, you have range and tools that counter where Clive is strong, right? Clive versus Clive. Nice rage art. Mulgold really getting the most out of all of the hazards. Like, really benefiting so much from it, whereas Ulsan hasn't been able to take advantage of it too much yet. Forward 1+2. Okay. Okay, Ulsan's back on the left. I have to remind myself because the costumes are not that different and the stage is so dark. Look, Ulsan poking almost like it's Dragunov, right? That down one string, kind of like Dragunov's down two. Nice grab to counter the parry. The parry is hard countered by grabs and lows. Big sidestep down 4-2, leading to this combo. He's going to heat burst. He has to stabilize the combo somehow because of this weird angle situation, and he does it. Picking a slower move to get around Mulgold's parry, right? Down one hits, and then he throws out a forward 1+2, and the parry has expired because he picked a slower move. Ulsan back on the board, taking a game with Clive, shaking his head. You have to wonder if that's because he had to switch to Clive to win. Mulgold switching to Fang. So in this first to three situation, you can destabilize your opponent by changing matchups like this, especially when someone's playing a secondary character, right? Ulsan is not a Clive expert yet, so it's reasonable to think that if you change characters, put him in some new situations, maybe he will be unable to handle it, and Mulgold can take a quick game. Or Mulgold wants to see if this matchup is more comfortable. Nice power crush from Ulsan. He's going to go into heat. Simple wall combo, not optimal damage, but it doesn't matter in this situation. Ulsan is picking Clive not for the full optimized combo damage, but for the control that he has in the neutral game. Forward 1+2 heat dash. Nice reaction to the sidestep 4. Yes, he is reacting to that. These players are so cracked, it's unbelievable, man. All right, looking at Ulsan's Clive. I let you know where my eyes are because it's I think Tekken can be hard to watch sometimes. The stringy dude is actually way more punishable, but Mulgold only got a jab. And now he's running tons of stance offense. 1+2, back 4. Ulsan has been on the record, he got counter hit, on the record saying that he thinks that Clive is one of the best characters, if not the best characters in the game, because he has so many tools that other characters have, and Clive has like the best version of them. He goes into heat from a distance, just wanting to run the stance mix-up. Doesn't complete the string, which gives up a bit of advantage. I wonder if he will fix that if he plays the character more frequently. Going for the 2-2 string. No power crush or interrupt or sidestep from Mulgold there. Instead, respecting the string. Again, not every player... Part of the thing that makes discussion hard about a new character like this is not everybody has optimized defense. So... as they fight with 1+2 over and over again from Ulsan, I want to point out that my opinion on Clive has been conservative. Nice block and launch, because I think that to ascertain a character's strength, it has to be clear what the counterplay is and how reasonable it is to execute that. And part of the reason I've been more vocal about nice parry, been more vocal about Clive needing, in my opinion, needing changes now, sidestep down 4-2, is because I think that we've had enough time to see more about how the character operates. As you can see, even at the top level, the character is not fully understood defensively. There are openings both players are not taking advantage of, so the meta isn't fully developed. But I do think we have enough information to see that forward 1+2 and 1+2 over and over and over again probably needs addressing. Right? I think that's a reasonable take. I could be wrong. That parry was so sick. I want to look at the situation again. He goes for the stance mix-up, goes into the low. We see Mulgold doesn't rip that very often. And then that sidestep down 4-2 is Ulsan bringing the Tekken skill to Clive, right? Like, yes, sidestep down 4-2 is nothing super complex, but this is how he plays Dragunov already, right? This is already how he prefers to play the game. You don't see Mulgold going for this option as much as you see Ulsan going for it. He goes for the stance low, right? He eats this situation. Technically, it's not really his turn. So he has to sidestep to make a play around Mulgold's follow-up offense. Reaction whiff punish there, right? So Clive is not fully anti-Tekken in everything that he does, right? It's more about how his forward 1+2 and the 1+2 are overshadowing almost everything else that the character can do. You can see that he can do some Tekken stuff, which Ulsan is showing here, but it's not as prevalent in someone like Mulgold's gameplay, who is just leaning heavily on how strong the other moves are. Forward 1+2 and 1+2. And speaking of leaning on it, Mulgold has switched back to Clive. We are wrapping up this winner's final 2-2 with a Clive mirror match. Back on the red arena. So again, a high variance map or stage. Korean commentary is really fun. They get so hype about it. Like I wish I understood it better. Okay, down one, going underneath the jab, and then a 1+2, using his +2 from his low. Mulgold making a play on the running move with the parry. That's a good choice. I think that it's important to make plays around that, even though it's super risky. I think it's important to call out your opponent for abusing that too much. Wall rising 2, nice punish from Mulgold. Orbital whiffs. Guard break with the full charge string into a guaranteed wall splat, but the combo drops. Now Ulsan gets a punish. He's going to go for the Rage Art right away. Did not have an optimal combo in mind. Maybe wanted to just delete the gray health. Maybe wanted to heal as much as he can. But either way, the Rage Art is gone. Creating an equal life bar situation. A bit of a lead for Ulsan. Power Crush goes for the 1+2 grab punish. I don't think the right punish would have killed anyways, so it's not that catastrophic. Down back 4. Ulsan still attacking. Low again. Parried. While rising 4, parried. Turn stealing back. It is too hard to force an attack into Clive over and over again, and the parry is another big reason for that. Running 2 into the low. Nice block and punish by Ulsan. Forward dashing into running 2. Because both characters want to bait the opponent into responding at the wrong time, you'll see them play more forward dashes and like sidesteps and movement than necessarily straight up hitboxes. Right? That's how Mulgold likes to play this character. Nice punish from Ulsan. 2-2-1. That string is unsafe, but Ulsan is not afraid to rip it because Mulgold didn't punish it last time. Back to a tracking high. Wow, sidestep right duck. I didn't even see the duck, man. I did not even see the duck there. That was so sick. Blow up the wall. This should turn into a heat dash. No. He thought that would kill, but he still has one more interaction to win. Baiting the get-up kick and then using the Phoenix stance. Very impressive. Okay, sidestep 1+2. Nice punish from Mulgold. That was an ideal punish. Forward 1+2. Down 1. Okay, parrying again. Mulgold saying, you've got to slow down. You cannot keep forcing your offense into me. Forward 1+2 clips this time. Forward 1+2 the other way. Running 2 into the mid. You have to block there. You have to stand block there. Like, there's no wall explosion behind you. The mid is way scarier because it just kills. The mid would just straight up kill there. Heat dash. Playing conservatively, doesn't want to get blown up at the wall, but then he gets blown up at the wall anyways. Clive having an insanely good backdash, getting out of the way of Ulsan's down 1. Match point for Mulgold. 2-1. Missed the punish. He tried to parry. 2-1. Nice sidestep. Ulsan going for the homing mid, but Mulgold stayed down. Forward 1+2. I wonder what the next move is. A running 2. Nice, he tricked me. Okay. Both trading the Phoenix slides back and forth. Forward 1+2 on a bit of a delay, trying to catch a sidestep or some kind of stray movement, but Ulsan is holding firm. Never mind, he gets caught by the 1+2. Big sidewalk! That's a huge play. You have to save that for crucial moments. Full crouch down forward 2. If your opponent gets lazy with that, with the running move, you have to call them out with a sidewalk. Heat smash for frames. Does he go low? Does he go mid? He goes low. He saw that Mulgold earlier in the set was never ducking the down back 4s, never ducking the down 1s. He cashes out there. 2-2-1 counter hit confirmed. Uh-oh, heat engage. This is catastrophic. Down 1. Full crouch down forward 2. Orbital dodging the jab. Mulgold is an orbital master. He's a Claudio player, man. He's a Claudio player. That's the same skill set. Wall carry. Okay, going for a wake-up option there. As in, it flips them over, so you get a better wake-up option with that wall ender. My language is imprecise. Whoa, that's it. That should be kill. Heat dash with a 1+2, and even Ulsan, look at him in the player cam when he hits that. Right? Safe 13 frame mid heat dash. Guaranteed follow-up that kills, and he's like, look at this game, bro. look at Ulsan. He's like, look at that, man. Okay, so Maybe it must have leaked out in the middle of the gameplay, but maybe my opinions are becoming a bit more clear about the character. I think the character has so much cool stuff. I'm going to turn the audio down while I just talk. I think the character has so much cool stuff, and he's being heavily overshadowed by how effective his good moves are, right? I think that and we're still going to talk about the defensive situations later, by the way, but I think he's so overshadowed right now by these two moves, forward 1+2 and 1+2. There's this interaction where they're literally just trading these moves back and forth on block because this is a great tweet that someone replied to me with. They said the opportunity cost of not doing these moves is too high. As in, you are probably trolling by not picking two of his best moves because they're so much better. Do you see this interaction? Look at this again. Like, actually look at what happened here. Tekken is a game where you have high mids, lows, sidesteps, cancelable backdashes. You want to play all these options to call out your opponent for what they're trying to do. And here, because of the strength of these moves, all they're able to do is move forward and backward and throw forward 1+2s at each other, trying to catch each other on different timings. It's like a game of like that 2D game Footsies, you know, where it's like a really simplistic fighting game. Tekken is kind of reduced to that when these moves are this powerful. And when I criticize Tekken 7, and I'm not going to let this devolve into a Tekken 7 versus Tekken 8 debate, but I just want to say that this is usually the criticism that I levy against it, is that the game kind of devolves into this back and forth footsies game when every character is so strong that you can't move around their kit, right? Or if certain characters have movement that's so strong that you can't reliably attack them. And Clive is guilty of both of those things, right? Clive is so oppressive with his hitboxes and so evasive, and he has the parry and he has the orbital and things like that, that it's hard to attack him. It's hard to move against him. You are forced to sit there and make timing reads on your opponent over and over and over again, right? It's very, very RPS. It's a lot lamer than what I think Tekken has to offer. Now, I did insert my opinion earlier than I expected because I got passionate about it, but let me back up what I'm saying with these defensive situations. We're now in the quick tip area. When to sidestep against Clive. This character is extremely hard to sidestep by design. And it's important to note that when I say that, I'm talking about the entirety of Clive's kit, not just individual moves. I'm talking about how everything interacts together in concert. So I want to first start by showing you moves that can be sidestepped and situations that can be sidestepped. And then I want to highlight why it's not worth it most of the time. Okay, so here's a situation that came up a lot in the pro matches in the Soup Tekken League, right? Down 1, while rising 4, 1+2. Some variations of this. Now, there are a few points of interaction here. You can sidewalk the initial hit. You can go right or left. I find right easier, I think, for this move. It depends on the timing. The second hit is also sidesteppable. This while rising 4. You have to be a bit on point doing it during the block stun, or the hit stun, but you can get a whiff punish off of that. And then finally, if you block the while rising 4, this is sidesteppable as well, right? The reason why it wasn't working for a lot of the players, you could see that I tried to sidewalk right and I got clipped. So that obviously has some tracking in that direction. But the other reason it might not work is because the Korean players were getting hit by the while rising 4. That puts Clive at +6, the right side Clive, and makes that 1+2 basically fully tracking at that point. So that is a mini breakdown of some sidesteppable situations, right? So we have the initial hit, we have the second hit, and then if we block the second hit, we can step the third hit. The problem is, and this is not a Clive specific thing, but this is a generic Tekken thing, there's counterplay to that counterplay, and that's what we have to consider. If I try to sidewalk after I eat the down 1, he has prominence, forward 1+2, right? And eating this move is usually catastrophic because it leads to the heat engage, it leads to the stance mix-up, it leads to the potential half HP combo, if you don't know what I'm talking about. After the stance mix-up, if you hit Phoenix Heat 2 1+2, it leads to this combo, right? 100 damage over half-life. So the forward 1+2 is catastrophic because it leads to that situation. So, considering all of that damage I just did, considering the stance mix-up situation where even if I stand block, there's the sweep that gives me meter, there's a sweep that can break the wall. Considering all of that, do you really want to sidewalk here? I would just rather let him hit while rising 4. You know? Sure, if I have a good read, it gives me a combo. But doing it every time? I don't know, man. I don't want to eat that move. That's an example of why considering the entire kit is pretty crucial to determining if a character is steppable or not. But let's expand this situation a bit, okay? Let's say I want to prevent this altogether. Let's say I know Clive is going to run up and do this big mid or the down one, right? I know that he's going to dash because he has to chase me. I'm Korean backdashing. And I know it's going to be one of these two moves. If I'm good, I can do like a sidestep right block that actually covers both options. And this is some cool Tekken stuff, if you ask me. The fact that I can use my movement, both my backward and my sideways movement, to shut down his offense, right? And it's not fully shut down. It just requires him to be a little more creative with his approach. Maybe he has to do a few more forward dashes, for example. Let's try that. Like if he does a double forward dash, then he'll catch my sidestep. So what that would look like is if I try to sidestep his approach, he realigns with that second forward dash. Maybe not. There it is. Right? If I put in all three moves together and I try to sidestep the initial dash, it's hard to answer all of these options at once. And that's what makes Tekken movement and defense so cool. Right? This is, to me, what is exciting about Tekken. And even though characters like Dragunov are extremely overpowered, they have to play this game. Right? They have to play this game of like dash realignment and making sure that you can't just get around their moves. This is where my problem with Clive lies, because you saw all of that interesting interaction that we just had in just a simple 50-50 mix-up. Do you know what makes it all go away? This move. If I'm backdashing, trying to see his forward movement and sidestep in response, I eat a forward 1+2, I get heat engaged upon, he goes into stance, he leads to this giant mix-up, right? Like all of this, he has the guard break. I've already talked about it. But you can see how so much of that depth immediately got reduced by the forward 1+2. That is my ultimate problem with Clive right now, is it has nothing to do with his objective power in the meta, his tournament effectiveness. It's the fact that he reduces this pretty interesting game of defensive movement and like sidestepping and whiff punishing and keep out to pretty much just stand still. Let him do his forward 1+2. If the opponent does get obvious with their timing, then yes, I can interrupt. But it feels way more like a 2D game of footsies, because it's not worth the risk of eating the forward 1+2. You saw it in the matches, right? The game becomes, can I hit him on his timing before he swings the sword, or do I let him do it and then try to interact after? The problem is you can't really interact after either because of the parry, right? Because of the power crush, the parry, and the orbital. So he could do this move and just input parry after. And look at what happens. I'm +8, it should be my turn. I attack back, I get parried and blown up. And Clive's parry is unique too, where he slows down time. So even though the second hit is coming out, his parry follow-up will always hit me first. If you include this huge range power crush and this orbital that dodges highs, sometimes mids, and always lows, it becomes unstable to fight back against Clive. His entire problem right now, I don't think it's the range alone. I don't think it's the swords and the weapons alone. It's the fact that these two moves shut down the entire game, right? You're forced to pretty much stand still. And then if you do stand still, he has legitimate stances to pressure you with. This is an absolute problem string. Look at this. I'm going to go into heat. I do Phoenix 2, 1+2. I get this combo. For a +4 on block mid, I got 100 damage. Right? This, if he blocks this, I still have my turn. I have advantage. If he decides to stand block, I have a sweep that gives me meter. I have a sweep that can blow up walls, right? This sweep blows up walls. So Clive has legitimate offensive threat, like Tekken 8 offensive threat with straight up rock, paper, scissors situations. And he has the Tekken 7 neutral that turns off the game. So when I say turn off the game, again, you cannot sidestep reasonably with good risk reward in mind. You cannot interact too heavily with offensive pressure because of the parry and the orbital. You're forced to kind of block, chill out, take really obvious opportunities based on the opponent you're fighting, rather than being able to do the fighting game thing of putting the risk reward in your favor with awareness, skill, preparation, and matchup knowledge, right? So this is my problem with Clive. I'm going to summarize this with a tweet from Ty, a American Brian player, one of the best Brians in the world. He says, Clive is hilarious. I'm not competing right now. This guy says he's downplayed as fuck too. What I was saying is this is what I want to talk about. He's ridiculously broken, but mostly he's just horribly designed character. Literally just everything bad about Tekken 8 on one character. Zero neutral or actual Tekken, 90% of the match, just awful. And people can say what they want about characters like Dragunov, etc., especially because obviously Dragunov is still OP and dumb. And I would say the same about like Nina. But at least he is actually playing the game. You can play neutral versus him. You can outplay him easily without reducing the entire game down to basic RPS forced interactions. Rock, paper, scissors. Here, Dapper responds, it's weird because, correct me if I'm wrong, Clive encourages you not to interact with him a lot of the time. Ty clarifies that it depends on what you consider an interaction, right? Because you have to make a choice when he goes into stance. Are you going to stand block? Are you going to duck the hell sweep? Because the reward is very high with stage hazards. But in terms of Tekken interaction, like trying to control variance, control your opponent with your options, you don't get access to that because of forward 1+2, parry, power crush, right? I didn't even mention the big power crush, the big fist. I should put that down next to Ulsan. And the heat engages, the demon breath, right? You can't interact with him like a normal Tekken character, right? Trying to do anything gets you clipped into stance mix, and that's the round, right? And that's what we saw in the match with Mulgold versus Ulsan. And in the previous matches, if you've been watching my last videos, where Mulgold dominates other players using Clive's kit very effectively. So what's my take on this? For like the title's called The Future of Tekken. It took like, what, 30 minutes to get here, PhiDX? What's your point? My point is Tekken 8 seems to have an identity crisis right now, or like a split personality, and release Clive feels like he has the worst elements of both. So I'm not going to super dig into Tekken 7 because I've done that in previous videos, but what you need to know is the meta by the end of the game's lifespan was very non-interactive. So by design, Tekken 8 wants to swing the pendulum the other way to high interaction and engagement over and over again. Most people would agree that it was a huge overcorrection and that the offense was very mind-numbing and stale, and some characters are like that even to this day. But I would argue that patch by patch, they've improved the game. Sidestepping at a baseline level is much stronger in Tekken 8 than it was in Tekken 7. But aside from that, they're continuing to improve it. Dragunov in the latest patch had his back 4-3 tracking reduced. So it's easier now, even more easy to sidestep around certain moves and strings. There was a patch where they removed the tracking on Heat Burst, which to me is game-changing, not only as the defender having counterplay, but it changed how the attackers would go into heat. Because if you were too reckless, you could get sidestep and whiff punished. To me, the slow refinement of this game ended up in having really cool matches like this one, Edge versus Numon at the Tekken World Tour Finals in 2024. Here, we see a lot of interaction. We see that even though Numon's in heat, he's not deleting Edge's life bar, right? Edge finds little windows to fight back, but now he has to make a comeback without heat. And spoiler, he's able to do it with just regular Tekken offense. So I think that Tekken 8, especially as the patches have gone on, has kind of pushed the pendulum towards interaction in a more healthy way, patch by patch. It reminds me, like the strength of movement and the buffing of movement reminds me of this old Tekken Tag 2 clip, where because sidestepping is so strong and you can't just hit your opponent for free, it leads to these movement mind games where movement becomes an attack. Look at that interaction. 6 wave dashes from Heihachi, and then Knee does a sidestep to whiff punish. This can only exist because tracking is not that good in this game, right? So you have to realign constantly. And I'm not saying that Tekken 8 has to do this too. Oh my god, it happened again. Look at this. Waivu, waivu, waivu. Stature kick, whiff punish with the sidestep. I'm not saying Tekken 8 has to go this way, like this far. But I think it's really cool that movement can become an attack when every character has really strong sidesteps. And the patch history of Tekken 8 is moving in this direction with the nerfing of tracking and the improvement of sidestepping. Until Clive came out, where it feels like a total step backwards, revisiting that forced interaction philosophy where release Tekken 8, everything had really good, well, not everything, a lot of heat stuff like heat engagers, heat smashes, heat bursts had good tracking so players could feel powerful. It feels like Clive is revisiting that style of interaction, and that was a bit confusing to me because I thought we were patching that out. On the other hand, characters are, like, as the patches have gone on again, DLC characters specifically showed a lot of linearity. So Lydia has crazy rock, paper, scissors situations, but she's pretty steppable in the neutral. The idea is that in neutral, you want to step around these things to deny her access to her crazy offense, right? Heihachi is kind of similar, where getting around his moves is much easier than it was in Tekken 7, even though he has some crazy stance offense and insane damage with the warrior instinct. There's counterplay, and it feels like it feels ugly when you get hit, but it feels reasonable. Clive has the ability to shut down that neutral interaction, that rock paper scissors movement, while also having their insane rock paper scissors stance, like the reward, while also having really safe stance options. So not many characters in the DLC roster have like a default safe stance option. The stances usually open them up to some risk one way or another. And Clive has tons of access to really good stance options easily, right? There's not that risk of, oh, if I go into stance at the wrong time, I'll get sidestepped and blown up. So Clive has the non-interaction of Tekken 7, which we tried to move past. He has the insane offensive capability of like release Tekken 8, where there wasn't much counterplay. And even though the game in general feels to be moving towards giving defenders more agency, Clive is taking away that agency. So it feels very confused, right? It feels like the worst of Tekken 7 from the developer's perspective and the worst of Tekken 8 from the community's perspective is being highlighted and brought to the forefront with Clive, who controls you in neutral, stops you from attacking back without a lot of risk, and is able to mix you up. Lastly, I'm not sure what this bodes for Season 2, to be honest. Season 2 trailer shows a lot of new moves being added, and based on what we've seen so far, the initial new designs that come to Tekken 8 are where the biggest frustrations are, right? Whether it's the game immediately on release, whether it's Clive on release. It feels like the game gets better the more they patch it, but they're releasing a bunch of new stuff, basically. So I don't know what to expect. I'm concerned about, for example, these moves that go into stance. That Azucena low poke that goes into stance. This feels alarming to me. This feels like the opposite of what I was so excited about, where movement is being buffed, both players get a lot of options, and you get to play dynamically and kind of quickly. Here, if this low hits and you just have to guess a 50-50, isn't that kind of a step backwards? Like, I guess that's a step in the Clive direction, but we were kind of moving past that, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're showing it more and more, especially with this Jin string, right? Shaheen here, that was a counter hit launcher, so it's changing a launcher into a mix-up situation. Jin, they're turning this low from a knockdown into a stance mix-up. And I don't really care if it's like better or worse from a balance standpoint necessarily, because like arguably the knockdown was better. I care more about like, is the gameplay interactive? Are we putting ourselves in just like okay, everybody stop, it's time to play rock, paper, scissors? Or are we allowing players to continue to have multiple options and like multiple avenues of counterplay? I certainly think the latter is more interesting. In terms of Clive specifically, I am really confident that if they nerf the forward 1+2, if they nerf the 1+2, maybe make the parry have more recovery, the character has a lot of cool stuff that will make him way more interesting. But right now, everything is being overshadowed by the fact that forward 1+2 does the entire game for you, right? And then 1+2 is a fast move that gets people off you that nukes them too. So that's my take. I know this was a longer video. Thank you so much for sticking around if you did. If you made it this far, please leave a like and a comment and let me know what you think. People always joke that I say I'm cautiously optimistic, but part of it is that the dev team gives me signs both ways. Like, I think we've had great patches, albeit very slow and conservative, but moving in the right direction. And then we have really concerning releases like Clive. And I didn't form an opinion right away because I wasn't sure how he was going to be. I wanted to understand how people piloted him and understand how people defended against him. And I think now that we've had this much time and we've seen both professional play and a lot of like online consistent play too at multiple levels, I feel pretty confident in my opinion that he definitely needs changes here. So yeah, if you have nothing to say, leave an emoji in the comments. That helps me a ton too. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Lastly, because it's listed here, I want to talk about it real quick. There are some defensive situations that are important to be aware of. We saw Ulsan apply it a little bit, but not a lot of players are using this right now. So I'm going to set the bot to just standing. I'm going to heat engage on him, and then I'm going to do a running 2. You can see that it's sidewalkable, right? Now, if you were paying attention earlier, you'll know that it's not always a good idea to sidewalk here because all it takes is another forward 1+2 to stop that. But if your opponent is like Mulgold and is always preferring this option to go into stance, it's important to be aware that that is counterplay if they get predictable with it, okay? And in most online matches, most ranked matches, it's going to become predictable. The reason why you do want to sidewalk preemptively there before the sword stab comes out is because once he's done the stab, he's plus 14. You don't get the chance to go for a sidestep anymore. You're going to have to guess mid or low. Rock, paper, scissors. And if he's the one in heat, remember, hitting this mid is like round ending, right? As soon as he hits this mid, he gets insane combo damage. He's plus 4. He gets to keep playing the game after on his terms, you know? Anyways, that missed because of the sidewall angle.